During our semester, we have been learning about indigenous communities in the Amazon with a special focus on their culture and oral histories. On November 10th, we had the opportunity to visit the Avila Viejo community. Avila Viejo is located in the northeast part of the Ecuadorian Amazon in the Orellana province. They are close to the Napa River and the city of Archidona. The province of Orellana inhabits 136,396 people. However, the Avila parish inhabits 4,331 people, according to the latest Ecuador census in 2010. The population in which our research focuses on is the indigenous Runa community that live in the village of Avila Viejo. Their way of life is categorized by agriculture, hunting, fishing, gathering, incipient cash cropping, and occasional wage labor. The form of agriculture that this community uses is called a chakra system. A chakra is a garden similar to a food forest or permaculture system. Chakras provide subsistence food like yucca, plantains, and potatoes for the families that tend them, as well as cash crops like coffee and cacao. Understanding the chakra is essential to understanding the way of life for Avila Viejo.
Our original expectations for this project went hand in hand with the overall goals of the Chakras and Oral Histories project being conducted by Professor Freddy Grefa, who is researching the significance of chakras in Peruvian and Ecuadorian Amazonian communities. We wanted to map the sacred spaces in the landscape of Avila Viejo so that we could have a better understanding of the place that chakras hold in relation to the overall spatial significance of the community. We developed questions to mirror this goal, which focused on special places within the community and their overall meaning. We chose an interview method that highlighted the voice of our interviewee. We interviewed Luis, a Yachak or shaman who holds great power and knowledge within the community. We asked him if he was able to draw a map and locate places with us. We gave him 2 maps, one with the placements of various rivers in the community and one large blank sheet of paper so he could sketch his own. We then started this project together. He was very educational about the location of roads, rivers, waterfalls, and spaces within. However, there did prove to be a few unexpected challenges. Luis's first language is Quechua, and that is the language he feels most comfortable with while expressing himself. We do feel that this created a language barrier between us and him. For example, when we asked about sacred places, we feel that he thought we meant sacred in the way of religion, so he pointed out the one church within the area. However, if we had been able to use the Quechua word for sacred, he might have been able to point out his interpretation of that. Another challenge was the time frame that we had to interview him. We felt that we wanted more time with Luis in order to understand his role and significance in the community, which would have given us a better understanding and knowledge about who he was as a person, leading to a stronger connection to him. However, overall, this was a very educational experience, and we feel lucky to have been able to experience it. We will now show a small clip of our interview with Luis.
Y usted cuando está, digamos, está yendo a Chacayaco, ¿cómo, o a más bien a Patas Yaco?
Patas Yaco, hasta el cielo, 1 hora de aquí, de la entrada. 1 hora.
Y cuando no hay sendero, ¿cómo se ubica?
No, simplemente no paso para eso. Ellos son queridos comenzar para hacer un buen caminito para llegar a, ¿cómo se llama? Para un grupo de nosotros para ir limpiar, para hacer un buen día. Pero ahí necesita comprar cabo para bajar de ahí, para venir cogiendo para subir de casa. Muy bueno. Ahí ve, alto más tarde. 3 gradas. Primera grada así cae, de ahí vuelta. Acá. Y allá ya, agua, bota acá.
Frío. Gente aquí se baña en las cochas de la...
Sí, yo sabía ir bañar ahí. Frío.
Rico.
Sí. Ahí, otro día, habían cogido tigre, que dicen, son madrecitas, pues, ahí, llénalo bien, ahí habían cogido, pero bota lejos, pero fría ahora ese es natural agua, vienen de cerro.
Y en Riquillacupacha.
¿Dónde?
En Riquillacupacha.
Iquiaco. Acá.
Ahí también.
Ahí de donde mi cuñada existe. Mañana, ¿dónde vamos?
Creo que sí nos vamos a bañar en el río.
Sí.
Vamos a caminar por el bosque hasta el río.
Yo sí me quedo.
Mejor, acá también podemos ir, como yo estaba diciendo, como casa para ver. Acá. Chacpac, ¿cómo se llama? Chaco. Ahí, como casa que dije, ya hay otro pacha de arriba que acá.
¿Por Churuyacu?
No, acá. De Achiac, acá. Aquí una cascada cae. Ahí también hay que bañar.
La cascada empieza aquí.
¿Y eso se llamaba?
Ese es Urcuyacu, Pacha.
Ah, como montaña.
Sí, bien, de arriba.
Claro.
Bien allá, 50
¿Cómo
minutos.
estás?
Bien, eso va bien.
¿Usted sabe qué estrella es?
¿De?
¿Qué estrella es? Es
Estrella,
super luz,
dicen. Dicen,
iluminada.
¿cómo se llaman? Dicen, Guatamuyo es mané. Guatamuyo, dicen. Termina acá.
¿Durante
Guatamuyo.
la noche o durante el año?
Solo de noche.
Oh,
Guatamuyo.
Guatamoyo.
Guata. En castellano, al ser guata estrella. Los antiguos sabían es Guatamuyo.
¿Y está cada noche?
Sí,
¿Todo el año?
hasta que termina fin de mes. De vuelta. Ahí también están. Y ya vuelta. Siguiente vuelta. Igual como algunos niños. Así es.
Creo que ya terminamos.
Ok. Gracias, señor.
Now, the application of our methodology when conducting the interview consisted of developing two different sets of maps to be presented to the interviewee. First, we have the one seen on screen, that is a standard cartographic map of the Avila Viejo zone, and it was retrieved from the Instituto Geográfico Militar of Ecuador's website. And this shape only shows the rivers of the region. This map was presented to Luis with the intention of him pointing out on it the different spaces or sacred spaces with which he and the community relate to. The second map was a blank sheet of paper intended to be compared with the first map shown, and in this one, Luis was asked to freely draw up how he perceives the community. As you can see, this map not only shows the main rivers but also shows the road and has much more toponyms than the previous map. Afterwards, both maps were georeferenced using the same scale on QGIS and SIG free software. This with the intention of taking out the coordinates of the places pointed out by Luis on each of the maps and overlaying them between the two different types of maps to see how they relate to, not only spatially but also in relation to what Luis told us. Firstly, you can see that on the first map, most of the places pointed out by Luis are rivers, with the exception of Tormenta la Selva, that is a town, and Yanacocha, that apart from representing a lagoon, also represents the limit between the Avila Viejo community with the Mestizo community of Progreso. Now, in contrast to the first map, as mentioned before, the blank map shows a lot more toponyms than the other one, not only in rivers but also some as again Tormenta la Selva, that now is displayed significantly to the east and closer to Avila Viejo, and also the Portón de Signos, the start of the community, and also the permitted hunting area as per the agreement with Sociobosque between Chacayacu and Achcayacu, and the area where the members of the community are no longer uh, allowed to hunt. Something very interesting is that Luis did point out to several pacchas or waterfalls, like Riquiyacupacha or Patas Yacupacha or Urcuyacupacha, but none of these were presented by him as sacred spaces, rather as newly discovered or newly reintegrated places that serve a more touristic purpose. And during our interviewing process, we also thought about asking places that he or members of the community do not go because of the presence of spirits or different culturally constructed perceptions of space. Interestingly, his understanding of the question led him to talk first about the área sin casa, uh, and secondly about the area beyond Yanacocha where the colonos are, and therefore is a quote unquote dangerous area. When overlaying the two maps, you can see the two main rivers, Rio Suñu and Watayacu, that do not resemble the cartographic representation, but do point out to the distribution, to a very similar distribution of space that is again a little bit displaced now north and west. Well, this exercise did not delucidate the relationship of the community specifically to sacred spaces. It did show a change in how space is being conceived, since due to how the questions are formulated, this is related to a Western understanding of space. Nevertheless, this exercise did give us a deeper understanding of the relationship of the community with a more globalized world, and also it gave us the names and relative locations of all of these hydrographic and possibly very significant spaces that could be further investigated and integrated into a more extensive research about the ontological perception of hydrographic spaces and its special relationship with socially constructed spaces such as chakras, churches, schools, or houses.
This experience was important because, as outsiders of this community, we were privileged to be able to hear the stories of Luis firsthand and just listen without making assumptions. Documenting oral histories of the Amazon is an important step in upholding the value of indigenous knowledge. Our method of ethnocartography helps to document the stories within geographic space and therefore hold space for indigenous histories in academia.